Hello, ever asked yourself why God actually hated Esau and he loved Jacob? Have you ever asked yourself what the two of them did? Maybe their parents did something wrong, or maybe God saw the future. Anyway, God never hated Esau. Yes, God never hated Esau. Romans chapter 9 from verse 12 and 13. It says, "It was said to her, the older shall serve the younger, as it is written, Jacob I have loved, but Esau I have hated." Now, there are a lot of questions we should ask ourselves. What did they do wrong? These were innocent. God is a righteous judge. Why should God hate one when he has not even done anything to deserve to be hated? Whereas he was actually loving up on the other who was his twin brother. I think we need to pay attention to a lot of things. Now, the Bible tells us in the book of 1 John chapter 4, verse 8, that he who does not love does not know God, for God is love. Alright, so if God is love, then we must ask ourselves another question. Why should God hate? Why should love hate? Because saying God hated Esau is also the same as saying love hated Esau. How does love hate? How would love hate? I think there are a lot of things that we should pay attention to. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. So God loved everyone, regardless of who they were, what they would do. Jesus said that greater love has no man than this, for a man to die for his own friends. It says, even while we're yet sinners, Christ died for us. So that would actually mean that God's love is supreme. God's love is for all men, and it is always there at all times. All right. In the book of 1 John chapter 1 verse 5, 1 John chapter 1 verse 5, it tells us that this is the message that we have declared from him and declared to you. Loved everyone, regardless of who they were, what they would do. Jesus said that greater love has no man than this, for a man to die for his own friends. It says, even while we're yet sinners, Christ died for us. So that would actually mean that God's love is supreme. God's love is for all men, and it is always there at all times. 1 John chapter 1 verse 5, it tells us this is the message which we have heard from him and declared to you, that God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. Darkness there could mean anything that is outside the nature of God. All right, anything outside the nature of God is darkness. Hatred is darkness. So how do we explain that God had darkness in him? It says there is no darkness at all, no iota of darkness in God. And Ephesians chapter 5 verse 1 and 2, we actually admonished to be imitators of God. In what way? In the way he loved, in the way he sacrificed. So which showed that God's nature was love, and God wants us to also love, because he has always revealed to us that is a loving father. Then why should he be rated that he hated Esau? I think there is also something we must pay attention to. That is not the first place we saw hatred coming from the part of God. Now, let me show you Luke chapter 14 and verse 26. Luke chapter 14 and verse 26. If anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. Come on now. God said, God loved. God says we should love. And Jesus came and said, there are only two commandments: love God and love your neighbor, even as yourself. Now, Jesus is saying you need to hate some persons, your brothers, your sisters, your parents, your wife, your children, and even your own self. I think there is something we are not getting. Else we'll be quick to actually assume that there is a contradiction somewhere. Now, Jesus said you must hate these people if you want to be my disciple. Now, he wasn't actually saying you should hate them. All right. In Romans chapter 9 from verse 12 to 13, where we saw, I hate Esau and I love Jacob. Now, you must understand that the Bible was not written in English. And when it comes to translation, one of the challenges that we always have is that there is always limitation of languages and expression. There are some things you want to say in your native language that you find easy to say. When you try to translate them into other languages, into English, you discover that there are a lot of constraints. You can't really communicate the things you want to communicate well. What you can say, definitely you can find some vocabulary in the English dictionary to communicate the things you want to say, but sometimes they do not capture your intention. They do not capture your feelings. They do not capture what you intend to actually communicate. And this is one of the challenges that we have when it comes to the translation of the scriptures also. Now, the word hate there is not the opposite of love as it is in English. The word hate there is simply a comparative word. Now, this is the rule that applies there. If you love one thing, the other which you love less, it's simply called hated. So if I bring you two options, do you like an Android phone or you like an iPhone? And you choose to actually go for an iPhone, it shows you hate Android. It might not necessarily be that you dislike Android. It only means that you prefer the iPhone to the Android. So when God said, I love Jacob and I hated Esau, what God was simply saying is, I prefer Jacob to Esau. All right, I love Jacob more than I love Esau, or I love Jacob and I love Esau less. So God wasn't saying that he actually disliked Esau. That was the same thing Jesus was trying to tell his disciples. If you must be my disciple, you must love me more than you love your father, your mother, your brothers, your sisters, your wife and your children, and even yourself. If you really want to be my disciple, you must love me more and love every other person in your life less. So that was actually the usage of the word hatred there. God was simply saying, I love Jacob and Esau, but I love Jacob more than I love Esau. The same way as parents, where we can actually have friends for another child, we can love another child more than another one, even though we love all of them and they are all from our loins. So God never hated Esau. He only had some preference for Jacob, which he did not have for Esau. So when you hear that God can actually come to hate somebody and all of that, you must know that that is the lie of the devil. For God is love. I'd love to see you next time. Olokede-Samuel Ayooluwa is my name.